Hey everybody, Cathy McLeish back here with Alcoholism Unpacked. And I'm going to do a different kind of questionnaire today. You see those questionnaires that ask you if you're an alcoholic. You see them in the doctor's office. You might just pick one up and ask yourself a few questions. They're kind of intimidating. They're also kind of offensive if you are practicing your drinking or trying to control your drinking or maybe just drinking socially. So I'm going to go at it a different way. I'm going to ask you, if you've never done these things, then you're not an alcoholic. So I'm going to say some of the things that maybe I did back when I was drinking. I'm an alcoholic in recovery, 37 years. It'll actually be 38 this month. So I got sober at 27, did a lot of nasty, ornery things before then. And I had these habits that got me into trouble that were kind of red flags, like you may be an alcoholic. You may have to stop drinking. You may need to not take another drink because the consequences are up in the air and you never know what is going to happen. So I'm going to ask you these questions and you can say, I never did that, so I'm not an alcoholic. And then you know. So here's question number one. Has anybody ever had to pay consequences because of your drinking? Has anybody ever had to give you a car ride because maybe your license got taken away? Has anybody had to cover for you because of a work excuse because you just couldn't go because of what happened last night? Has anybody ever had to make up excuses, dole out money, or do something different in their life to make up for what's happening in your life because of your drinking? Now, if that's never happened to you, that happened to me a lot. And if that's never happened to you, then you probably don't have a problem with your drinking. Here's another one, question number two. Have you ever used anybody else's money besides your own to drink? Because I would run out of extra money as a housewife, as a mother. I was even working, my spouse was working, 2 incomes, and there was never enough money for alcoholic drinking. So I would delve into other areas. I would get a new charge card. I would take money out of our savings. I would even borrow money from my kids that I wouldn't pay back until I got sober. So you can think about your own experience, and if you never did this, then you are probably not having a problem with alcohol. But if you ever did it, had to pull money from this place, 50 bucks from here, 100 bucks from there, $1,000 to make up for this because it happened when I was drinking, I had all of those kind of consequences. And even at the time, I didn't notice that that money was coming from other places in order to make up for my drinking. Question number three, and this is gonna kind of sound silly, but this was my experience, and you probably never had it. But have you ever ruined any piece of clothing or actually lost a piece of clothing because of your drinking? I can remember one time waking up in a snowbank. I have no idea where my shoes went. One of my favorite pairs of shoes, but because of my drinking, I lost shoes. I lost a coat. I lost car keys. Might have lost a car at one point, and we had to go hunting for that. But even though that sounds extremely ridiculous, have you ever gotten so drunk that you ruined a dress that really, when you put it on that night, it was like, I got to take care of this dress. This is a $300 dress. And at the end of the night, it was pretty much trashed. Those were the kind of things that happened to me when I was drinking. But if it never happened to you, you probably don't have any problem with alcohol. Question number four. Have you ever ended up someplace that you didn't intend to be? I would go out for an evening and I was going to be at this bar with these people or this restaurant with this group of people. And then before I knew it, I was at another bar and then maybe another bar and then maybe somebody's house that I didn't even really know or intend to be at. And then the next day, I'm like waking up somewhere where maybe I was safe, maybe I wasn't safe, maybe I knew the people, maybe I was only there because they would not let me go home because I'd been drinking. Have you ever started it out with one intention for the night and ended up with a total another end to the night? Because those kind of things happen to me in some way, shape, or form. But if they haven't happened to you, you probably don't have a problem with alcohol. Question number five. Have you ever had to walk back a promise or a commitment that was really pretty important to a child, to a friend, to a parent that I made And then I got to drinking, and either it was that evening and I couldn't do what I had previously promised, or it was the next day and I couldn't show up for what I had committed myself to do. Have you ever had that happen? It's a terrible feeling to see the disappointment in the eyes of someone else because I can't do what I promised because of my drinking. If you've ever had that happen, I don't know. When I had things like that happen, I had to start thinking about my drinking. You probably never had this happen, but one time I just had to say, "What the hell happened, Cathy?" I woke up the next day. I had a friend that was so horribly mad at me. And I could remember we had gone out with some friends and it was a group of us, and I can remember almost like an out-of-body experience, having an argument with this girlfriend, actually telling her things I had often thought but no need to tell them. But in that moment, because of alcohol, I told her all the things that I had thought in my head from the time I'd known her, which was a very young age. And so this girl, understandably, was so hurt and so mad at me. And again, like I said, I could only kind of remember what happened, and I didn't really understand why, other than the influence of alcohol on me. So if you've ever had that happen, have you ever had that happen where you have to ask yourself, I don't even know what happened. What happened? Then maybe alcohol is a problem, but that's probably never happened to anybody but me. This is another one that's going to sound silly, but have you ever been excited about free booze? I used to be so excited when I could go somewhere, drink all I wanted to. Maybe it was a date, maybe it was a wedding reception, maybe it was going to hear a friend that was in the band, and because I was a friend of the guy in the band, I'd get all the drinks for free. If you ever get really excited about drinks, I, for one, was drinking too much and it cost too much money. So anytime I was with a wealthy friend or I was with a generous friend or in a situation where all the drinks were flowing and I did not have to pay, I was always super excited. Now, that doesn't happen with normal people. Normal people don't worry about having to put out a little bit of cash for the alcohol they're gonna drink. But me, I had a problem, so I would get really excited for free booze. One of the things I used to do that seems really weird now, but I used to rearrange my whole day around drinking. That sounds really crazy, doesn't it? But I would get up in the morning and I would try to think, what did I need to drink? When was I going to drink? How was I going to drink? Who was I going to drink with or stay away from so that I could drink? Anybody that can relate to that? Nah, you probably can't relate to that because then you might have a problem with drinking. But I was one of those people that I had to rearrange my day in order to be able to drink like I wanted to drink, which was alcoholically. Here's another thing that I did, and it was probably one of my last things that was like, does anybody else have conversations with themselves every day, sometimes all day long, about should I stop drinking? Maybe it was, I will stop drinking. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to stop drinking. Then the morning would come and I wouldn't stop drinking. And so I would say, let's make another plan for stopping drinking, Cathy. Does anybody think about that? Probably not. But all the time at the end of my drinking, I was trying to figure out how I might stop drinking. So these are just some of the questions I'm sure nobody can relate to, but some of the questions that I had to ask myself. Maybe are these signs that I'm drinking too much? Nah, I didn't really realize any of them or recognize any of them until I got sober. So you probably can't relate. You probably don't have any of these things going on in your life. And you can probably watch this video and feel pretty confident that you don't have a problem with alcohol. Cathy McLeish again, Alcoholism Unpacked, trying to raise a little bit of awareness, a little bit of understanding, both for the practicing alcoholic, the alcoholic in recovery, and let's just add all those people that we affect when we're going through this disease of alcoholism. Please join me, subscribe, and maybe we can raise a little awareness and cut down a little bit of the ignorance about the disease of alcoholism.